Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
My name is Rob Magri. I'm with Nimble Storage. I'm an SE based in Toronto. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview on Nimble Storage integration with VMware and VMUG. So for those of you that are not familiar with Nimble, we're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. We're founded in 2008. First product launched in 2010, and been on a very aggressive growth spurt since then. We have a net promoter score of 85, so it's one of the highest in the industries. We have over 9,400 customers globally across 50 countries. Okay. And then various technology alliances such as VMUG and VMware. Okay. Our unique kind of story in the market is our unified flash fabric. So not only do we have all flash arrays, we also have adaptive flash arrays, right? So we can mix and match, we can cluster these arrays, scale out, scale up, replicate, snapshot, and replicate between the two arrays as well, okay? And then our info site is our predictive analytics engine. You could say that, storage today is really a commodity. So the software behind our operating system and our platform, including InfoSight, is kind of what sets us apart, right? So we have the largest Vertica database implementation in the world. Each line of our code in our OS has a sensor built to it. So this was kind of the vision of the founders when they were developing our product. Now these sensors send telemetry data up to our InfoSight analytics portal, and it allows us to monitor and predictively analyze our array performance, not only from the storage perspective, but also outside. So going cross stack to the virtual layer, the host, the network. Okay, so this is kind of the power behind the platform. Our technology, we use a triple RAID parity across the board, right? So you're not, having to fumble around and, decide, what RAID groups am I going to create for certain volumes or ones. We do a triple RAID parity out of the box, so there's no configuration from a RAID perspective. So we can sustain up to 3 drive failures without compromising any data. Okay. The other thing is our integrated data protection. So all of our software that's included today and any future releases, there's no additional cost for it. So if we're doing array-based snapshots or replication or cloning or dedupe or compression, that's all included out of the box. Okay? Including our Smart Secure, which is our encryption technology. Now we actually do encryption at the CPU, at the controller level, rather than drive-based encryption, which has a lot more overhead. Okay? So along with our legendary support, we also have a timeless guarantee, which means all of our software is included. We have flat support pricing for the life of your product. So you're not going to get, you're not going to fall off your seat after a 3-year, 4-year support contract and your time for renewal, right? And we also have a controller upgrade program so that you buy into getting a controller upgrade at getting at least 25% more performance after 3 years. So, you have an iPhone 7 today, and 3 years from now, you get an iPhone 10 or 11 or whatever's out, right? And we also have a storage on demand model. So it's a true utility model where we provision and size the environment based on what your requirements are and some future growth. It's obviously delivered on site, but you're only paid for what you consume, right? So today you may have 30 terabytes or 40 terabytes. Tomorrow may go up to 50. Okay, for 50. The following month may go down to 40 again. You're only paying for 40, right? So it's a true utility model. As I mentioned, our software, right? So we've got our Smart Snap, which is our redirect on write, very thin, low overhead snapshot. Smart copies are zero copy clones, so we can take clones of certain environments, provision them up for test dev, for example, and they don't consume any space. Okay? Our Smart Replicate is our replication technology, and again, that's compression and dedupe aware, so that's all maintained across the screen. And Smart Secure is our encryption technology built into the array. Okay? Some of our customers, I know this is a marketing slide, but this really just shows that we're not specific to any vertical. We kind of play in every organization or every vertical space out in the field today. Right? So InfoSight is really our kind of secret sauce, so call it, right? This is our predictive analytic portal, cloud-based portal that every array that we have in the field installed is sending telemetry data up to our InfoSight, right? So now InfoSight is able to automate those level 1, 2 support tickets, right? If my drive fails or if I'm running out of capacity and so on. We've actually tracked that 9 out of 10 support tickets are automatically handled by InfoSight. So there's no end user interaction where you have to call into support, upload logs, get a call back, 3-4 hours later before getting a response from support. InfoSight is automating a lot of these level 1, 2 support issues, right? We're also able to track metrics across our install base. So we're tracking 6 nines across our global field install base, which is probably the highest in the industry, right? And then when you do need to call into support, we're level 3 engineers only, okay? And within a minute, you can actually get a level 3 engineer on the phone. And we've actually had executives call during a meeting and a presentation and pick up the phone and call support, right? So by all means, try it. So what we do now with InfoSight is we're able to identify, 93% of our tickets are automatically 93% of our tickets are automatically identified, opened, generated by InfoSight. And also, over 86% of our tickets are automatically closed using InfoSight without any end user interaction. Okay? So with InfoSight, we get the ability to view, where these issues are actually stemming from. Right? A lot of times, there's pointing the fingers. Database is pointing at storage is pointing at the app team's pointing at network. Right? So we can actually show that within our install base, actually less than half of the issues are storage related. Right? There's a lot more issues within the environment that are causing application issues or access to the application. Right? Maybe it's an interoperability issue or configuration issue. So InfoSight can identify that and determine it. Here's some examples of real customers that we had issues with, right? So there's a hospital in the US. They had an ESX initiator issue where the command caused like a total throughput drop, right? So 10x throughput went down. InfoSight was able to identify what this issue was and predict other customers with a similar configuration and prevent them from running into the same issue. So we actually blacklisted their upgrade path. They had to call into support to remediate that issue before they upgraded to the latest code. So we can predict these issues from happening to other customers. Right? And the result was, we had over 2 petabytes of customer data that was kind of immune to it. Not immune, but kind of we bypassed this issue. Right? Another issue we saw with a customer that InfoSight was able to predict was hypervisor abruptly took volumes offline. Right? The solution was same thing. We found that same configuration with that hypervisor. We blacklisted those OSs from upgrading hypervisor code, and the applications we prevented that from happening to other environments that had the same version of the code application, sitting on that storage platform, our storage platform. Another issue we saw was, VMware had a bug causing all paths down. So we were able to identify that and remediate that problem and have that result fixed for any future customers that have a similar configuration. Right? So there's a lot of power with this InfoSight product that helps automate these issues and identify these issues. I'm not able to do a demo today because obviously the logistics in here with Wi-Fi, but I'm going to show you some screenshots of what InfoSight looks like, right? So from a capacity perspective, we can see here, what's trending from a consumption rate, and we can identify when you're going to run out of capacity, right? We also have deep integration with VMware, so we have what we call VM Vision. That's our API integration with vCenter, where we have visibility into the virtual layer, right? So looking at the host, the VM, the data store, for example, looking at host activity from a CPU or from a memory standpoint. A data store tree map, right? So we can see here from this tree map, the larger the square, the larger the I/O, the darker the color, the more latency. Okay? And then from a space savings perspective, we're getting usable capacity. We factor in compression and deduplication to see what our actual effective capacity is. Okay? From a VM perspective, we have the ability to look at what's going on from a capacity, from a latency, from a CPU, from a memory perspective. What's happening with my array. So these are the 5-minute intervals that are being tracked by InfoSight. So I can actually see here what my read, my write IOPS are from a specific VM. Right? I can also see, do I have any noisy neighbors in the environment? Maybe there's a rogue VM that's causing, latency throughout the entire data store. So I can go in and identify, here's my virtual machine, there's my data store that's residing on, what other machines are within that data store, and maybe there's some kind of rogue application that's affecting all the machines in that data store. Okay? Capacity consumption, we have executive templates or reports that we can generate that show when you're going to run out of capacity, and then recommendations, right? Or if we need to add cache to the environment, we can recommend what's required, adding a shelf expansion or adding more cache. I can see what my top VMs are from an I/O perspective in the last 24 hours. I can see what's going on with my host from the CPU and memory. Inactive VMs, I can identify what VMs are actually consuming processing and capacity that are not generally taking up any or doing any I/O, for example. Okay? And we also have full vVol integration. So Nimble was very key in helping with the vVol integration with VMware. We were helping with the development stages of getting that vVol integration going to market with it. We were involved with the developers, where we had a joint effort in developing that integration. That's pretty much all I had.
I got a quick question for you. So what's new in the Nimble space, like in within the last year or so? What changes or improvements have you made to the current lineup of arrays?
Yep. Let me just hit those slides. So we've actually moved from a 3U chassis to a 4U chassis with vertically horizontally dry bays now, right? So we've remodeled or rebranded our modeling convention. So we have our all-flash portfolio, starting at the AF1000, which garners 35,000 IOPS, and goes up to a CS 7000, a 9000. And then our CS line is our adaptive array. Same thing, it's a 4U. Sorry guys, I apologize. And you'll see that the performance is the same. Because we are not a spindle-bound performance, we are controller level, CPU level performance. We're going to get the same performance out of an adaptive array as we would an all-flash array. So we've gone with a 4U chassis across the board, and then we can scale out and up with each model. We can mix and match models within a cluster. So you can have an all-flash array and an adaptive array within a single cluster. We can go up to 4 nodes per cluster, and we can scale to over 1.2 million IOPS and about 8 petabytes of effective capacity within a single cluster. So that's kind of what's changed since the 3U platform.
And when you say IOPS, is it 4K sustained, random, or what? Is it a mix of IOPS, sequential?
So we're random IOP performance. So what we do is we take random IO blocks and ingest them, and then what we do is we compress and serialize them into a 10 meg strike, and we write across all drives. Right? So we're essentially taking thousands of IO. We compress and sequentialize them and write them sequentially across all the drives. Right? So from the adaptive array, the spinning disk, we're decoupling that performance layer. Right? We're doing that all at the controller layer, so that when we write sequentially to the drive, that's what the drives are made for, right? Sequential writes. And then when the blocks are ingested, we're actually writing to the NVDIMMs first. So these are like super micro compressors, sub-millisecond latency. We mirror it to the standby controller NVDIMM before we send the acknowledgement back. So we have 2 copies of the data, and then it gets written to our cache, and then it flows through onto, if it's the adaptive, it's going to the spinning disk. If it's the all-flash, it goes on the SSD.
Did I actually 35,000 is an all SSD number?
No, whether it's all SSD or adaptive array, 35,000 IOPS is our entry-level machine. Okay. So the all-flash is 35,000, and then you'll see here the adaptive is also 35,000. The adaptive just scales a lot deeper because you can add nearline SAS drives.
So, can you explain from multi-tenancy, what does Nimble do to, I guess, segregate workloads at the storage layer for multi-tenant?
Yeah. So, along with the vMall integration, we also do integration with vCenter, and we can have security based on LUNs, right? So we can present certain LUNs to a certain initiator group and have encryption done at the volume level. So you can have multi-tenant encryption at that level rather than at the entire array level.
On one US one, you show that it's a custom perspective, like it's a model play as we use. Like,
Yeah.
does it mean that I can buy like the biggest box and we'll use 1 terabyte and play only for 1 terabyte?
Yeah, I mean, there's some discretion there, but we would size the environment for what your requirements are, and obviously grow based on what, if you want to do a 3-year plan, then we actually provide that to you, right? But you're only paying for what you consume. So InfoSight will basically monitor what that consumption rate is, right? And you're only charged for that. Okay? Any other questions? Thanks, guys.